Welcome to episode 1 of the Divorce Podcast. I'm Michael Fletcher. I'm your host. This podcast is a project that I have intended to start for the last 3 years, really for the last 5 years. And it is a direct product of having existed through or survived or attempted to survive my divorce. And it's a product of I have done divorce coaching, divorce counseling for the last 6 years. I have had 100 clients who come to me privately, and I coach them through the divorce process. I say coach them through because it's almost like a professional athletic sport. The divorce process, as many of you know, those of you who are on this podcast or tuning in almost certainly are either starting the divorce process, in the middle of the divorce process, or ending it or believing it is over. And that's why you're here. It is truly, as I say to people over and over again, a genuinely horrible experience. The reason I wanted to do this podcast again was also directly tied to a company I started 2 years ago, aidivorcecourt.com, aidivorcecourt.com. Not here to pitch that project or to pitch that site, although it is the sponsor of this podcast. And by the way, like and subscribe. We need to do this right, and we need to reach out to people. But me and a group of investors started aidivorcecourt.com 3 years ago, after I had literally thought my divorce was over. I filed for divorce 13 years ago. 13 years ago. Now, I know some of you have probably are probably in the same spot. For those of you who are just starting the divorce process, I don't want to scare you, but the whole point of this podcast is to help people through it. And the fact that I filed for divorce 13 years ago, and I thought it was done 3 years ago when we started AI Divorce Court, but as it turns out, it's still not done. I'm in court next week coming up because there's some money issues left 13 years later. 13 years. That's how fundamentally flawed the divorce process is. I started this podcast because I want to help people. I do some private divorce coaching, divorce counseling. Don't need any new clients. I'm booked. But that doesn't mean I don't want to try to help people. And part of that helping is telling people the truth. We think, or you think, and I don't mean that negatively. I don't mean that judgmentally. But people's understanding about what the divorce process is fundamentally flawed. This process is broke. Or, as someone said to me the other day, oh, it's not broke. It's working exactly how it's supposed to work. It's the truth. The truth is this, is that for the divorce courts, I mean, you understand there are entire court buildings, entire sections of courts, thousands and thousands of people employed in the court system to deal specifically with divorce. What does that mean? It means, and it speaks to the inherent flaw and or the operative fact of divorce, which is if you and your spouse do not agree to spend every penny you have, if you and your spouse do not agree to hate each other and to be angry and bitter, if you do not agree to spend your marital assets and do something crazy like, oh, I don't know, compromise and settle your divorce case, if you do that, the whole system breaks down. Everyone in the system, every person you meet in the divorce system is there to take your money. But they won't say that to you. What they'll do is convince you that you want to spend your money because there's certain things that are just beyond monetary value. The judges are there to make you spend your money. The divorce lawyers are there to make you spend your money. The court-appointed experts are there to make you spend your money. Every single person you come into contact with during your divorce process is there attempting to make you spend all of your money. Don't believe me? Mark my words. And for those of you who are listening who have been there before, comment below and tell our new friends the truth. If you don't believe that the people that are most uniquely and intimately tied to the divorce process, the judges and the lawyers, not just your spouse's lawyer, but your lawyer and your spouse's lawyer, everyone you meet, if you don't think that it's their job to make you spend your money, then I promise you this, the moment you cannot write any more checks, the moment you can't replenish your retainer is a phrase you're going to hear. Replenish your retainer means give the lawyer more money. The minute you cannot replenish your retainer, you'll find this stunning. But your lawyer, you know, the guy, the girl who said, oh, we've got to fight, we've got to do this. The minute you can't replenish your retainer, they're going to say, you know what? I think now is the time to explore settlement. By the way, the judge in your case, the judge about the same time where somehow the judge realizes that funds are low, that judge will start talking about maybe you should settle your case. Every person you come into contact with during the divorce process is part of the divorce industry, an industry designed to take your money. And proof positive of that is, again, when you have no more money to feed the divorce machine, every person you come into contact with says, it's time to settle your case, or maybe we should really look at this. Here's a stunning truth. 99% of all divorce cases, guess what? Settle. They settle. Your divorce lawyer doesn't tell you that until you're out of money. The judge doesn't tell you that until you're out of money. It's only when you're out of money to give to the system, to pay into the divorce machine. It's only when you're out of money that suddenly everyone wants you to settle. 99% of divorces settle after you've spent your money, after you've spent your retirement account, after you've spent your kids' college funds. I know what I speak, or as I like to say, I know that of what I speak. That's exactly what I did. My divorce cost me $450,000. I'm a trained lawyer. I ended up doing the trial of my divorce myself. It cost me still $450,000, and that doesn't include the money that my ex-wife spent on her lawyers. It literally went on and on until I could show I have no more money. And then lo and behold, it settled. I thought at least. That's the scam. And that's what we're going to attack on this podcast. We've got to do something. And here's where this gets really interesting. The fact that 99% of divorces settle goes directly to why we started AI Divorce Court. The formula for settling a divorce case, it's a statutorily mandated formula. You can find out before you spend one penny on your divorce, by the way, your divorce lawyer knows how much your child support's going to be. Your divorce lawyer knows how much your property settlement is going to be. Your divorce lawyer knows how much you're going to pay or receive in maintenance. And your divorce lawyer knows how much you're going to pay him or her in attorney's fees. They know all that before you even start because it's in the statute. A statute is a written law. Everyone knows the amount of property, of maintenance, of child support, and everyone knows the amount that that lawyer is going to charge you for representing you. And here's what people miss. It's not just one of you. 2 lawyers are getting paid. 2 divorce lawyers are getting paid. Let's just say a combined $1,500 an hour. And that's what you're going to pay in your divorce until you've spent all your marital property, or until you've spent your college funds, or until you've spent your investment funds, because then you can't pay them anymore. This podcast is a collective effort to change this process. And here's why it's also a unique opportunity: artificial intelligence. We at AIDivorceCourt.com, we set up an AI algorithm that takes the specific facts of your divorce. How much do you make? How much does your spouse make? The specific facts of your custody arrangement. All of the specific facts, take them, run them on an algorithm, and we predict with 99% certainty what your divorce is actually going to cost. What amount of money are you actually going to get in child support? What amount of money are you actually going to get in maintenance as part of the property settlement? We also do this. We say, will there be any money left when the divorce is done if you hire divorce lawyers? Not 1, but 2. Because remember, if one person's represented, the other one must be represented too. And the judges in your case are happy to do it as long as they get paid. As long as the lawyers get paid, the judges will appoint lawyers the whole time until the money's gone. We can change this. The whole point of this podcast, I don't care if you use AIDivorceCourt.com, it doesn't matter to me, but for $49, it's pretty crazy. That's the other thing. We charge $49. And if you can't afford it, we give it to you for free. Because our whole point is, if you know how much your divorce is going to cost before you write a $10,000 retainer check, and before if you know how much your child support is going to be, or your maintenance is going to be, or the property settlement is going to be, before you start the process, then maybe you and your spouse, whether you like each other or not anymore, can say, hey, before we spend every penny we've made, before we take our children's college funds, before we destroy our retirement, why don't we just try to settle this case? 99% of divorces settle. They just settle after all the money is gone. The point of this podcast, and what we're going to say over and over, is settle your case before you spend your money. Nothing's going to change. There's no juries in family law court. There's going to be no trial in family law court. You're just going to spend all of your money. And when all of your money's gone, the divorce process, the divorce industry comes to a screeching halt. What? You can't pay us more money? Well, then you should settle your case. If you can't pay us more money, then you should settle your case. That only makes sense. You don't want to lose everything. That's what they say after you've given 90% of everything. This podcast is important. This process you all are getting ready to engage in is long, it's arduous, and it's extraordinarily costly. And I don't mean that monetarily. I mean that emotionally. I mean it psychologically. Here's what the divorce judges and the divorce lawyers will never tell you: that the process of divorce causes more anxiety and anger than getting divorced. It's not getting divorced that causes the long-term damage. It's the 2 and 3 and 4 year divorce process where your lawyers force you to lie and your spouse's lawyers force you to lie, and they mischaracterize stuff and they say things all to make you mad, to make you angry, to force you to continue the litigation process. That is the divorce industry. That is the divorce industrial complex, to make you and the person you married 2 years ago or 5 or 20 years ago hate each other. It's what they have to do, because that's the only way you'll agree to take the $200,000 you have in equity in your home and give it to two complete strangers, lawyers you've never met in your life. The only way they can get you to take every penny you have and give it to complete strangers is if they can trick you into believing your spouse is a horrible person or your ex-spouse is a horrible person and they're bad and all of that. That's what they have to do. We can change that. Artificial intelligence can change that, but we have to attack the divorce industry itself. And we're going to do that. We're going to cover topics every episode. It's going to be a new topic, and I'm going to help you through it, and we're going to help each other through it together. I'm Michael Fletcher. This is the Divorce Podcast. It's going to be amazing. Like and subscribe, and thank you so much. Thank you.